The state of Kampala's crumbling infrastructure, riddled with gaping potholes, open sewers, blocked drainages, and a shambolic transport sector, recently jolted the public to undertake an exhibition on the microblogging site Twitter under the hashtag Kampala Pothole Exhibition. To placate the citizenry, the central government doled out a paltry 6 billion shillings to KCCA to undertake repairs of potholes for a road network in Kampala of 2,100 kilometers, of which only 616 kilometers is tarmac. The Lord Mayor Arius Lukwago, who heads political oversight at City Hall, says the city's ailing roads will continue to rot away as long as a powerful cartel, whose puppet masters are senior government officials, continue to receive kickbacks from lucrative tenders. Most of the firms undertaking road construction and repairs of Kampala's ailing infrastructure are Chinese. As a result, road construction has been inflated through the bills of quantities, nugatory expenditure, and shoddy works. Lukwago, who has written to the Leader of Opposition in Parliament and the Inspectorate of Government, which promised to conduct an inquiry, says he's ready to pay the ultimate price.
They are already threats, and I put this on record. And we are ready to pay the ultimate price on this. I know I was putting my life on a line. The day I came out and said, look here, there are cartels here that are siphoning off this money. They are making huge kickbacks out of this.
Then international companies, that's their trick. And normally they explore and take an advantage of our weaknesses. They look into the law, then they look into this, they look into that. And I think it is a game. It looks like it's a connivance, a cocoon within the construction fraternity.
Previously, no action was taken in 2020 when the Kampala Capital City Public Accounts Committee report detailed the reliance of lump sum prices, which tend to facilitate the siphoning of funds through issuance of overpriced contracts. Amongst the complaints was a contract design of city roads that was estimated to cost 92.6 billion in August 2015, but soared by 70% in a period of only 10 months. Lukwago has compiled a dossier he has handed to the House Committee of Physical Infrastructure, which has undertaken to probe allegations of graft. The State Minister for KCCA, Kabuye Chofatogabye, says there is a lack of transparency in the bidding process.
Because it has been done, competitive bidding, yes. But they say, okay, when we reviewed, you find that number 3 is in a better position because of maybe area A, B, C, D, so give him a road. And their decision takes precedence. Those are now the challenges of a donor, kind of, and if you're not firm enough.
When an officer knows that what I'm doing, a decision I'm taking, nobody's ever going to see it, they are going to behave accordingly. When they know that everything I'm doing, the whole public is going to see tomorrow, they're also going to behave differently. So the lack of transparency is one of the key things which creates an environment that leads to unfair business practices, as I may say. Number 2, we have been seeing a growing trend of presidential directives on contracts. Give contract XYZ to this firm. And the explanation under that, I think, has been to, number 1, he has been saying, I've met this group of people and give these projects. And number 2, he has also said that he's frustrated and disappointed by delays in execution of projects because of red tape and bureaucracies. So to be able to move faster, give these companies and they work. Now that is dangerous also and could be a driver of inflated costs. Why?
The probe will partly place the spotlight on the vote worth $183 million from the World Bank to implement the Kampala Institutional and Infrastructure Development Project. The project, which recently ended, had 2 components. The first limb was to widen, upgrade, and construct city roads, drainages, and associated infrastructure. This was anticipated to improve urban mobility in the 5 divisions. Amongst the roads that were constructed is the Lukuli Road, a 7.71 kilometer stretch across Machindia division. It cost 70.5 billion shillings at an average cost of 9.1 billion shillings per kilometer. The Kulambiro Ring Road, Najera Link, and Nakawantinda and Acacia Avenue construction measured 9.77 kilometers in length and was built at a cost of 90.4 billion shillings, as each kilometer cost 9.3 billion shillings. The Kabusu Bunamwaya Lueza Road, that stretches to 8.06 kilometers, was built at a cost of 93.7 billion shillings, and each kilometer cost 11.6 billion shillings.
Bunamwaya Rweza Road, for example, I said these figures will outrage you. It's just a stretch, a very narrow stretch of 8 kilometers, but it cost 93 billion Uganda shillings, which translates to around 11 billion Uganda shillings per kilometer.
The Nakamiro Drainage Channel, a distance measuring 3.28 kilometers, was built at 20 billion shillings at a cost of 6.1 billion shillings per kilometer, while Lubiji Channel, measuring 2.58 kilometers in length, cost 62 billion shillings, as each kilometer cost 24 billion shillings. This was part of the Kampala City Drainage Master Plan in 2019, which was meant to rid the city of intermittent floods. Located in Bwaise, Kawempe Division, these drainage channel projects have been extended several times, as the contractor has failed to meet the deadline of 30th November 2022 after construction commenced in 2020.
They have created a man-made lake there, a breeding ground for rodents, breeding ground for reptiles, and it's an eyesore. Actually, it is a health hazard which they have created out of 62 billion. You can imagine, you have spent 62 billion, which was meant to create a state-of-the-art drainage channel, only to have a pond as a breeding ground for rodents. Very, very absurd.
Whereas there was a ray of hope that the new drainage channels would be widened to handle large volumes of water, structure flaws continue to hobble the project. Compared to its neighbors in the East African region, Uganda's roads remain the costliest. For instance, the Kangudo Road, which is the Greater Eastern Bypass, cost 3.1 billion shillings per kilometer. The access to Embakasi Industrial Park cost 5.8 billion shillings a kilometer, and the Eastleigh Roads Phase 2 cost 6.2 billion shillings per kilometer. Averagely, a kilometer in Nairobi costs 3.7 billion shillings, while in Kigali it costs 2.96 billion shillings. Officials have attributed the rising road construction costs to the soaring prices of fuel lubricants used on most road projects and bitumen, among others. On numerous occasions, records show consultants and engineers quoting contrasting prices for the same projects. According to the World Bank research published in September 2015 on the cost of road infrastructure in low and middle income countries, it states that projects that take place in conflict settings would almost always be more costly than in other settings because of challenges such as insecurity and low government capacity. Higher costs can be due to the costs of monitoring an area's security situation, the potential for incurring substantial risks to visit the construction site, and the possibility of limitations on planning. In addition to protection of the staff working on the particular roads, firms also risk supplies being cut off due to disruptions of transport networks. The World Bank research partly reads. The research also indicates that the ruggedness of the terrain in a country, surface area, and population density of a country are significantly associated with rising unit costs. The World Bank research that was conducted partly in Uganda, Bangladesh, and Ghana, amongst others, indicated that allegations of fraud, corruption, or collusion were made in about 1/4 of the 500 approved World Bank financed projects, as the estimates of costs of collusion and cartels in the road sector are large and range between 8% and 60% of the contract value.
For them, they are good at reading to the dot of each word in the contract, which some of us, we are maybe out of excitement. The guys would read each sentence, and out of that, they hit you on the head.
There's barely any rugged terrain and insecurity that have directly affected the construction of roads in Kampala City. KCCA plans to roll out the Kampala City Roads Rehabilitation Project, which will tarmac another 69 kilometers of road at a cost of $287 million, the equivalent of 1 trillion shillings. This means that each kilometer of road constructed will cost 14 billion shillings. City Hall's highest collection in its history was a paltry 93.2 billion shillings for the financial year 2021-2022. This can only tarmac a 6.6 kilometer stretch of road in the city.
So if we are just generating 93 billion and we are celebrating that, oh, this is remarkable, this is unprecedented, this is a lifetime achievement, then that tells volumes about our capacity to pave the roads in Kampala using local funds. In a nutshell, we do not have that capacity.
In part 2 of this story, I'll interrogate the award of 1 trillion shillings worth of tenders for the paving of city roads under the Africa Development Bank project, and pore over the details of nugatory expenditure, such as votes for tree planting, a safe HIV/AIDS campaign, and the distribution of condoms. Christopher Paulo Kayonga, NTV Weekend Edition.